Welcome back to Planet Watch, this Scorpio edition. Hey, Mary Jane.
Hello, hello, Christi. Hello, all of you out there. Welcome back.
We're both in different settings here. So,
Yes,
what's going
it
on your end?
well, working from my little bitty tablet, and I have no lights on my computer. My computer's being operated on this weekend, and so I have no lights around me. I've turned on all the overhead lights in my living room, and I'm working by candlelight on the side. Yes, it's going to be a very 19th century edition of Planet Watch tonight. And what can I tell you? Transformation. It's Scorpio, isn't it? It's transformation.
It is, right? Now, on my end, I'm undergoing major repair slash renovation work at my house. I still am technically living out of an Airbnb not too far from here, about 10, 15 minutes away. And my house is a complete disaster. Everything is everywhere because we had to tear into walls, tear into ceilings, tear out a floor. My bathtub's in the hall, my toilet's on the porch. I mean, just cats and dogs living together. It's craziness. And here I am in my kitchen at home, but in the kitchen and surrounded by dust and chaos. And so we're just doing things a little differently, flying by the seat of our pants, right?
Well, exactly. But all of this sounds very, very scorpionic.
Does it?
It's death, rebirth, renovation, purification. That's Scorpio business.
That
And
is,
that's what we're here for. So,
that's what we're there for. Good Lord. And it's funny, you're having computer problems, and it sounds like yours was completely died and had to be like transplant this and that. But
totally.
so many people I've been talking to are having these technology snafus. Now, I don't remember talking about that in the last Planet Watch for Libra.
Well, true, true. Again, we're coming back to regeneration. This crazy Uranus that's in charge of computer works and all sorts of technological questions is still in retrograde these days, has been for a few weeks now. Is going backwards still, going to be re-entering Taurus, and is making a really deadly opposition to Mars as it goes along.
Mm.
This is on top of the regenerative part, comes to its lovely trine to Pluto, who's saying, yes, fix it again. We'll make it bigger. We'll make it better. It's going to be wonderful. But getting there is like half the fun. And so we're really getting into this Mars Uranus opposition. And is from the 26th of October until, well, the 15th of November, actually, where it's at the same time things are happening, things are getting built, and I'll talk about the more positive elements in a second. But meanwhile, we've got to realize this is a very dangerous, physically dangerous, threatening period because of this opposition, Uranus, Mars. It's explosive, is what it really is. We're talking seriously explosive situation. It's very difficult for aggressive behavior. Mars has everything to do with, especially his sitting there in Scorpio all this time, that we have to realize. Mars is already there, and so he's acting up. He's saying, oh, God, this is really a time for aggressiveness, a time for, we have to look for accidents on the road. We have to look for thefts. We have to look for also mass mobilization, and that may be more or less violent.
Oh my gosh. When we talk mobilization, what do you mean by that? Calling in troops?
Calling in troops. I'm looking for, yeah, sure. I'm looking for mobilization of the masses as well.
Mm.
Going and demonstrating new shot. Well, we've seen this in, where was it, in Syria. We've seen this now in Venezuela. We've seen this in several places where I think we're not done either, in people finally getting to a critical mass of bad behavior on the parts of their authorities. We're looking to turn a lot of things around. And finally, people are saying, yes, let's go out. And maybe it's going to get heavy. I think some of these demonstrations are going to turn kind of pear-shaped. But this might be the price to pay to show that there's a certain amount of seriousness behind these arguments.
Yeah, now we're recording this on Friday, October 17th. Saturday, October 18th is planned massive protests across the United States and probably around the world. It's called the No Kings Rally, very patriotic rally having to do with, yeah, we're not a monarchy. We do not accept anything like a monarchy. But I think this could be a worldwide type of protest. And yeah, I think everybody's a little bit nervous that it can turn violent. Everybody's being asked to be peaceful, and everyone I've talked to who's wanting to go to it is planning to be peaceful.
I'm taking heart from the fact, first of all, that we're not in this really dreadful period yet, and in the idea that the nice trine of the heavy planets that we've been looking at in the last couple of months seems to be doing some good. We've seen a turnaround already in Gaza. Things are slowing down in this respect. I think we're going to see some more humanistic approach to negotiations with the help of Mars and Jupiter and Saturn. These are decision-making planets. And I want to say certain positive constraints, putting logic to the test, calling up positive and correct answers to these warlords that are still shaking sabers. So we're going to continue calling on this type of help. That seems to be working in face of this Pluto trine Uranus that is much more hawkish, that's much more ballistic. And so it's going to be sort of a trade-off, and we have to have faith. I think it's going to be serious, that we have to have faith that the final word is going to be positive, it's going to be humanitarian, is going to be creative and constructive. I think we're going that way finally.
Oh, that's lovely. That, I mean, and people are getting fed up with having their neighbors snatched off their streets and out of their homes in the middle of the night, and children being arrested. And, people are really fed up with that and are saying,
Yeah,
oh, not on my
well,
watch.
yeah, the word is out. Finally, a lot of these clandestine things that were going on in other societies are not clandestine anymore. Everybody sees and everybody hears what's going on, and they're reading the papers finally, maybe, and saying, yeah, this is not how a democratic government is supposed to be run. Any government is supposed to be run.
Yeah.
For sure. So, yes, I'm thinking, let's get real. Let's get back to the people. Let's get back to living a proper life in a safe and sound society.
Right. Right. Well, what else do we have coming up in Scorpio?
Well, we talked about, I'm thinking the period too around Halloween looks kind of nasty. Let's get some proper dates accompanying this violence, because there are a few. The new moon is the 22nd of October. It's coming up really soon. And at the same time, this is going to be sort of activating the square from the moon and the sun to Pluto. So this is pushing over this notion of aggressive egos that are still involved in this plutonic ongoing period. Also, let's not forget that the sign of Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, is ruled by Mars. So these are extremely excitable planets, and which is why this period this year can be a little more aggressive than some other times. So this new moon on the 22nd is doubtful. And the moon that will be conjunct Pluto on the 29th of October is also not very nice, which made me not like very much, actually, this time of Halloween. I think this is going to be a sort of a difficult time. You're going to have to be careful as you're out on the streets, careful with the kids having parties, careful about certain of these parties going off the deep end, and they can become quite aggressive and quite dangerous, I'm going to say, risky.
Oh my goodness.
There are some other not nice moons. So one of them is 31st through the 2nd of November. Also, we have to look at the 6th and 7th of November and the 13th, 14th November. Again, these are periods of visits on these sensitive spots in the sky, and the moon never helps as far as making people get a little crazy if they already have this tendency.
Halloween's always kind of a crazy time, especially since it's falling on a weekend this year.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't
So
like that.
yeah, because people tend to party a little too hard, and that can have some ripple effects. So, I think always helpful to be careful on Halloween, but this year perhaps particularly so.
I'm thinking so. At the same time, Venus is here. Venus is acting up a little bit, doing some sort of funny things. From the 24th of October through to the 6th of November, we have Venus in an opposition to Chiron,
Mm.
also in opposition to Eris, especially on the 3rd of November when the moon will be visiting Chiron. I'm looking at a period of what I would say karmic encounters. That is to say, we'll be running into people or situations or conversations that are often calling up self-reliance. We can be talked into various schemes, talked into various relationships, certain promises being made. But I think it's a period, especially with Eris, they're visible, that we need to count on ourselves and our good judgment in our relationships that are being somehow excited through this period. It'll be a test to inner independence. And with this in mind, I have this notion of karmic encounters, people that we're meeting, that we're dealing with through this week, that week, are calling upon us to test ourselves as far as self reliance, as far as independence. And that's could be very interesting. Also, some of these times will be in square to Jupiter. So we'll be invited into situations of questionable taste or questionable legality. This is where your friend comes up with a Ponzo scheme that looks absolutely wonderful on paper, but you don't want to buy in. Okay, this kind of thing going on. He wants to get a lawsuit going against the other neighbor because things are not going his way. Let's not go there under this kind of a sky. It's already with Venus that's going to be entering the sign of Scorpio as well on the 6th of November, and we'll be making a square then to Pluto and to Pallas Athena, who has a lot to tell us about law and order. So we're getting into a time which is important as far as certain legal and authoritarian kind of confrontations. This will be a time of violent exchanges, threats, letters floating back and forth. A difficult time, and if you can get out of any court dates or so on that are falling into that period of time, from the 5th of 6th of November, we talked about that, 6th of already, 5th in November as well. A very difficult time as far as carrying through with certain types of confrontation. We can do
It
better.
seems like something has been brewing for some time. Everybody I've been talking to just says it feels like something's going to come to a head. So I'm hoping that it's not something violent or really terribly tragic.
Well, I'm thinking we're going to see tragic is maybe a big word, but we're going to see an escalation of violence. What I don't want to see is on an individual scale. And if we can keep out of our own personal arguments and our own personal confrontations, we can choose other moments to take on authorities and take on our neighbors and fight out things in the neighborhood. Let's do that instead. And we'll try to keep an even keel and some sort of logical exchange. This is what we really need to do through Scorpio, which is also a period of working out complications, of working out, seeking, digging, go looking for solutions. And this is something that these planets can do. Venus, Mars can do quite well during this period. So, yeah, let's turn them loose.
Good. Yeah, there's so much that we can do that has nothing to do with taking to the streets, right?
Pass those petitions, stand in front of the courthouse, do whatever you need to do to show your, to manifest your feelings, but in a more positive and constructive way.
Absolutely. And here we're very focused on world events, and United States events, of course, because this is happening right now. But there's also interpersonal stuff and relationships and events at your workplace and community organizations. So it's just a good time to keep your head about you and always work towards nonviolence.
Well, exactly. This is what I like. I want to indicate these periods that look particularly incendiary, but in order to calm down our own personal reaction, they don't have to be that violent. If we're thinking always about making order, finding the consensus, I say this as we're entering into a period of another Mercury retrograde from the 9th to the 29th of November. That's almost always through this period going to be, again, opposite Uranus with Mars.
Mm.
So we're going to see a lot of disputes, especially on this Taurus Scorpio axis. There's a lot of talk about money. There's a lot of talk about resale, about fighting bad contracts, for instance, lots of disputes over property in cases of divorce or separation or resale or getting fired from your job. A lot of talk like that is going to be going on through this period. And again, defend yourself, do what needs doing, but in a positive way. If you can avoid some of these disputes at this time, if you can wait for Mercury to go back direct after the 30th of November and start thinking more positively about solutions, this is going to be one way out. Or get things wrapped up before the 9th, which is nice too. Something to think about.
Now, I'm still digging myself out of the last Mercury retrograde we had this summer. It was nasty. It was horrible.
Yes,
So,
it was.
what are the prospects for this upcoming retrograde, November 9th?
Well, I don't like the opposition to Uranus, only because, well, first of all, we're going to see a lot of communications problems. We're not out of the woods as far as technological difficulties. Already, I just learned from the computer guy that's operating on my computer right now that this is the time that Microsoft has called in saying Windows 10 is dead, long live Windows 11. You cannot get anything done after it started on the 14th of October. And apparently this is an issue for a whole lot of people. At least it has been in Europe. So this does not look good through the 29th of November because it's a technical thing too. Uranus is the octave, the higher octave on a purely energy level of Mercury. They both are talking about nervous energy, nerves in general. They're both talking about communication. They're both talking about passing information. Mercury on a very personal level, but still it's the nervous system. It's an air sign. It's the airy planet. Has everything to do with blah blah. And Uranus is just the more sophisticated level of Venus, again, on a nervous level and on a communicative level. So what's happening is times 10, basically.
Yeah.
And that is where, to my mind, we're going to be a little crazy through this Mercury retrograde. What can I tell you? Send all your messages, your important messages 3 times. Don't put anything in the mail that you think nobody will ever see again because it might be true. Be careful what you're saying in disputes. Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't listen to any promises that you don't think will be forthcoming. Yeah, careful about communication in all ways. And this has to do with mobility as well. Careful driving. Keep your speed limits down. Be careful as you're driving, as you're parking. You don't want to run into problems with authorities. Yeah, that's what I've got to say on the subject. So I don't know if it's going to be as noisy as it was. It was chaotic in the summer. I think this is far from chaos. I think it's extremely organized destruction on a certain level.
Oh dear. Oh
You're
dear.
really.
I know, because I mean, here we are in October, mid-October even. Time has been barreling forward, and we are speeding quickly toward the end of the year. And it feels like the whole rest of the year is going to be a bumpy ride. What do you think?
Well, the rest of the year, oh, I think we're going to even out. We have
Okay.
a very nice Jupiter working for us and will be as we get into Sagittarius. So, yes, this month might be a little lumpy yet, but I'm thinking as we get into Sagittarius, we're going to see another sky. We're going to see a very cooperative Jupiter, and Jupiter's the ruling planet there, who should still be in Cancer. So it's going to be a time to fix families. It's going to be a time to even things out as far as real estate, buying and selling homes, working on that level. We'll see then how it's still working with Saturn, but it could be, we could still be in this holding pattern of some sort of cooperation. Jupiter's going retrograde on the 11th of November and acting very politely with Mars and with Saturn and Neptune. So we're going to enter a period again of some sort of positive equilibrium. And I think this is going to be very useful in solving different problems. And this pattern is holding on in water signs. So we're going to be talking about a more humanistic, a more emotional approach to problem solving. As we're finally seeing help coming into Gaza, as we're going to, I think, see some help coming into the problems in Ukraine and elsewhere in the world. For us as well, it's a time to say, hey, we're all in this together. Let's act generously. Let's give and take and get back to something that's a little more humane in our approach to each other and to the world. There are some very nice moons happening here with this in mind. The 23rd of October that I didn't like for other reasons, but it looks good as far as Jupiter goes. Also, the 1st and 2nd of November, the 9th and 10th of November, the 18th, 19th of November. This is when the moon is coming in through these water signs and will be touching on this wonderful big trine that's in the sky. So we're going to get help with that in those departments in any case. And that's about what I've got for you. It looks hard, will be hard on some levels. If you can keep out of legal battles right now, it's probably a good idea, I'm thinking. For several reasons, but yes. But anything else, either put them off until the end of Scorpio anyway, and as we get closer to the 29th of November, or back off or keep quiet or don't answer the phone or do whatever you need to do to keep out of everybody's hair and keeping them out of your hair.
Mm-hmm. Everybody be safe out there, be peaceful, be joyous, bring your best energy. Yeah, that. And we we'll be back in Sagittarius then, won't we? We'll be back in Sagittarius, finishing out the rest of this year.
Incredible, but true.
Incredible. I know. We're just barreling forward in time. Well, wonderful. We have done it again. We've gone through all of the news that's fit to print for Scorpio.
Or a bit, but useful. And if you want to know how to do this better, come in for your birth chart. Have a look at your birth chart and we can see how these energies should be working for you, not against you.
Right, because all of the placements of all your different planets, that has a big bearing, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Which is why some people profit from even these very difficult periods, where other people are going to suffer. It depends. The energy is there. It's up to us to surf. And like every good surfer, he knows where to put his board, doesn't he? He knows how to ride that wave. And that's the idea, finding out where your positive points are, where you are going to be able to use this stuff and use it accordingly. This is what we're after.
Right. Absolutely. Wonderful. You could do that at radiatewellnesscommunity.com/appointment. You'll first want to do a natal chart reading.
Right. Yes.
And then followed by anything else you'd like to do. But those natal charts, we do need at least a week to prepare that information and get it ready for you. So
Yes, yes.
yeah.
The study of a natal chart takes a while. I have to get some upfront information before I can even see you in consultation. So if you want to set an appointment, do it early, give me your information, and then we can set a time more logically a week later.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, we will see you again in Sagittarius then.
All right. All right. See you then.
Bye.